Introduction. What was the Stone Age? Close your eyes and imagine a world untouched by the hum of technology or the glow of artificial lights. A world where the horizon is a jagged line of mountains under a sky, so vast it feels eternal. The air carries the scent of damp earth, pine, and the faint musk of wild animals. In the distance, a herd of deer grazes, unaware of the hunters crouching in the tall grass, their hands gripping sharpened stones. This is the Stone Age, a time that stretches across more than 2.5 million years, a colossal epoch that forged the very essence of humanity. The Stone Age began in the heart of Africa, in a sun-drenched savanna where our earliest ancestors roamed. Around 2.5 million years ago, creatures like Homo habilis, neither fully ape nor fully human, picked up rocks and struck them together, creating sharp edges to cut, scrape, and survive. These first tools were crude, little more than broken pebbles, but they were revolutionary. They marked the moment when our ancestors began to shape the world around them, turning nature's raw materials into instruments of progress. The Stone Age lasted until around 3000 BCE, when the discovery of metalworking sparked the Bronze Age. For millions of years, stone was the cornerstone of human existence, a symbol of both limitation and limitless ingenuity. Why do we call it the Stone Age? Because stone was everywhere. Rivers offered smooth pebbles, cliffs provided flint, and mountains hid obsidian, sharp as glass. These materials became the tools of survival: hand axes to butcher meat, scrapers to clean hides, and later, polished blades to harvest crops. But the Stone Age wasn't just about tools. It was a time when humans learned to master fire, transforming cold nights into moments of warmth and safety. It was a time when they painted their stories on cave walls, sang songs under starlit skies, and buried their dead with care, hinting at beliefs in something beyond life. The Stone Age was the cradle of human culture, where the seeds of art, community, and innovation were sown. Archaeologists break the Stone Age into 3 distinct periods, each a milestone in our journey. The Paleolithic, or Old Stone Age, spans millions of years, from the first tools to the rise of modern humans. It was an era of nomads, small bands of hunters and gatherers who followed herds of mammoths, deer, and bison across icy tundras and lush valleys. They lived in caves or shelters of branches and hides, their lives dictated by the rhythms of nature. The Mesolithic, a bridge between eras, came as the Ice Age glaciers melted. How do we piece together this ancient story? There are no books or scrolls from the Stone Age, no written words to guide us. Instead, we rely on the silent evidence left behind. A fire-blackened hearth in a cave, a flint arrowhead lodged in a mammoth's rib, a skeleton adorned with shell beads. In places like Lascaux in France or Altamira in Spain, cave walls bear paintings that are tens of thousands of years old. Vivid scenes of charging bison, leaping stags, and human hands pressed against stone, as if reaching across time. These artifacts are more than relics. They're fragments of lives lived, of fears and hopes etched into the earth. Archaeologists study these clues, piecing together a puzzle that reveals how our ancestors survived and thrived. The Stone Age feels like a distant world, but its echoes are all around us. The instinct to create, to build, to come together in communities. These are gifts from our Stone Age ancestors. Every fire we light, every story we tell, every field we sow carries their legacy. They faced a world of towering beasts and unforgiving climates, armed with little more than stone and wit. Yet they built the foundation for everything we are. In this video, we'll travel back to the Stone Age, exploring the lives of those who walked before us. From the first flickering campfires to the rise of the first villages, we'll uncover how they hunted, crafted, dreamed, and changed the world. This is the story of the Stone Age, a story of stone, fire, and the unbreakable human spirit.
Chapter 1. Dawn of Humanity. The first toolmakers. Imagine the African savanna at dawn, 2.5 million years ago. The first rays of sunlight pierce the horizon, casting a warm glow over a landscape of endless grasslands, dotted with thorny acacia trees. The air is alive with the hum of insects, the distant trumpeting of a herd of antelope, and the rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. In this primal world, a small group of figures moves cautiously through the tall grass. They are neither fully ape nor fully human, their silhouettes blending with the shadows of the morning. These are Homo habilis, the handyman, the earliest ancestors to wield tools that would forever alter the path of humanity. Homo habilis were small, standing barely 4 feet tall, with long arms suited for climbing and hands capable of delicate work. Their faces, still protruding like those of their Australopithecine ancestors, bore wide, curious eyes that scanned the landscape for food, danger, or opportunity. Their brains, larger than those of earlier hominids, but only half the size of a modern human's, held a spark of ingenuity that set them apart. Unlike the apes they resembled, Homo habilis didn't rely solely on teeth and strength to survive. They saw potential in the world around them, in the smooth pebbles lining riverbeds, in the jagged rocks scattered across the plains. In places like the Olduvai Gorge in modern-day Tanzania, these early toolmakers began their quiet Anglophone experiments. They picked up stones, struck them together with precision, and created sharp-edged flakes and choppers, tools now known as the Oldowan Toolkit, named after the very site where they were first discovered. These tools were simple but revolutionary. A sharpened stone could slice through tough animal hides, making it easier to access meat from scavenged carcasses. A heavy chopper could crack open bones to reach the nutrient-rich marrow inside, or cut branches to construct makeshift shelters. Even plant foods, tough roots, tubers, and woody stems, became easier to process with these tools. Each successful use of a tool meant a better chance of survival in a world teeming with predators like lions, leopards, and hyenas. The creation of these tools was no accident. Archaeological sites like Lokalale in Kenya and Gona in Ethiopia reveal the skill and deliberation of Homo habilis. Excavations uncover piles of shattered stones, some bearing the telltale marks of repeated strikes, showing a growing mastery of flint knapping. These early humans selected specific types of stone, like flint or volcanic basalt, for their durability and sharpness. They learned which angles produced the best edges, experimenting with techniques that would be refined over millennia. The process was slow, requiring patience and practice, but it marked a turning point. Tools gave Homo habilis an edge over other animals, allowing them to access food sources that were previously out of reach. Beyond survival, these tools hint at something deeper, a budding intelligence. Homo habilis didn't just stumble upon sharp stones. They created them with purpose, learning through trial and error. Sites like Olduvai show evidence of repeated tool-making in the same locations, suggesting that knowledge was shared within groups. A parent might have shown a child how to strike a stone just right, passing down skills that strengthened their small bands of 20 to 30 individuals. These groups, likely family-based, relied on cooperation to survive. Tools amplified their ability to work together, whether scavenging a fallen antelope or digging for roots in the hard earth. The environment of Homo habilis was as challenging as it was vibrant. The African savanna was a land of extremes, scorching days, chilly nights, and constant threats from predators. Herds of megafauna, like giant buffalo and early elephants, roamed alongside them, offering both opportunity and danger. A single mistake could mean death, yet Homo habilis thrived. Their tools allowed them to exploit new resources, like marrow or tough plants, that other animals ignored. This adaptability gave them an edge, letting them spread across East Africa and beyond, laying the groundwork for future migrations. The significance of these first tools cannot be overstated. Each flake of stone was a step toward controlling the environment. A chopper could turn a branch into a digging stick, a hide into clothing, or a bone into a source of sustenance. These tools were the first expressions of human ingenuity, the earliest signs of a mind that could imagine a better way. They transformed Homo habilis from scavengers at the mercy of nature into active participants in their survival. Archaeological finds, like the 2.6 million-year-old tools at Gona, show wear patterns that suggest repeated use, proof of a growing reliance on technology. Chapter 2: Migration out of Africa. Picture a restless band of early humans standing at the edge of a vast African plain, their eyes fixed on the horizon. The year is roughly 1.8 million years ago, and the sun beats down on a landscape of golden grasses, rocky outcrops, and shimmering heat waves. These are Homo erectus, taller and stronger than their Homo habilis ancestors, with larger brains and a burning curiosity that drives them beyond the familiar savannas of East Africa. They are about to embark on one of the greatest journeys in human history, a migration out of Africa that will take them across continents, into jungles, deserts, and icy steppes, forever changing the story of our species. Homo erectus was a remarkable ancestor, standing up to 6 feet tall, with a more human-like posture and longer legs built for walking. They were born explorers. Their faces, still heavy with brow ridges, held sharp, observant eyes that scanned for danger and opportunity. Their brains, nearly twice the size of Homo habilis's, gave them the ability to plan, adapt, and innovate. Armed with improved stone tools, sharper hand axes and cleavers, they were ready to face the unknown. These tools, part of the Acheulean tradition, were more refined than the crude Oldowan flakes, with symmetrical shapes and versatile edges for cutting, scraping, and digging. With these in hand, Homo erectus set out to conquer new worlds. The journey began in Africa, likely spurred by changes in climate and food availability. As savannas expanded and contracted, herds of animals like antelope and elephants moved, and Homo erectus followed. Some groups ventured northeast, crossing the arid landscapes of the Horn of Africa into the Arabian Peninsula. Others moved through coastal routes, hugging the shores where fish and shellfish offered sustenance. Archaeological sites like Dmanisi in Georgia, dated to 1.8 million years ago, reveal the earliest evidence of Homo erectus outside Africa. Here, among fossilized bones and stone tools, we find traces of a small band that braved unfamiliar lands, their skulls and tools a testament to their courage and adaptability. The world beyond Africa was a mosaic of challenges. In the Middle East, Homo erectus encountered deserts where water was scarce, forcing them to track seasonal streams and memorize oases. In Europe, sites like Happisburgh in England, dated to around 800,000 years ago, show they faced cold, wind-swept plains roamed by woolly mammoths and giant deer. In Asia, places like Zhoukoudian in China reveal caves where they sought shelter from harsh winters. Each environment demanded new skills. In lush Southeast Asian jungles, they learned to navigate dense forests teeming with predators like tigers. On open steppes, they honed their hunting techniques, using their tools to butcher large game. Coastal groups, as seen in finds from Eritrea's Red Sea coast, adapted to marine life, cracking open shellfish with stones. These migrations were not a single event, but a slow, generational process. Homo erectus traveled in small bands of 20 to 30, likely family groups, moving a few miles each year as they followed food or fled danger. Their tools were their lifeline. Acheulean hand axes, found from South Africa to Spain, were versatile Swiss army knives of the Stone Age, used for everything from skinning animals to digging roots. Fire, which Homo erectus likely began to control around 1 million years ago, was another game changer. A flickering flame could ward off predators, cook tough meat to make it easier to chew, and provide warmth in chilly climates. Sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa show early traces of fire, hinting at campfires that lit up the night and brought groups together. Adapting to new environments wasn't just about tools and fire, it was about resilience. Homo erectus faced predators like saber-toothed cats and hyenas, competed with other hominids, and endured shifting climates. In Europe, they survived glacial periods, wrapping themselves in animal hides to fend off the cold. In Asia, they navigated monsoons and floods, learning to exploit seasonal resources. Their ability to adapt is evident in their skeletal remains. Longer legs for covering vast distances, stronger bones for tackling rugged terrain. Fossils from Java, like the famous Java man, show Homo erectus thrived in tropical climates, while those from Dmanisi reveal smaller, more versatile individuals who could endure diverse conditions. This migration reshaped humanity. As Homo erectus spread, they carried their knowledge with them, passing down tool-making techniques and survival strategies. Their journeys laid the groundwork for later humans, like Homo heidelbergensis and Neanderthals, who would inherit their tools and territories. Archaeological finds, like the 1.7 million-year-old tools at Ubeidiya in Israel, show how far and fast they moved, connecting distant regions through shared technology. Their story is one of exploration and endurance, of small bands stepping into the unknown, driven by the same curiosity that pushes us to explore today. Homo erectus didn't just leave Africa, they claimed the world. Their footprints, etched in stone and bone, stretch from the deserts of the Middle East to the forests of Asia and the shores of Europe. With every step, they carried the spark of innovation that began with a simple stone tool, turning a species of wanderers into the first global explorers. This migration was the first chapter of a story that would lead to us, a story written in stone, fire, and the unyielding will to survive. Chapter 3. The world of the Paleolithic, a harsh landscape. Step into a world where the earth itself seems alive, its rhythms dictating life and death. It's 1 million years ago, deep in the Paleolithic, and the landscape is a breathtaking yet unforgiving expanse. Picture towering glaciers glinting under a pale sun, their edges creeping across vast tundras. Imagine wind-swept steppes stretching endlessly, broken only by patches of stunted trees or the sudden thunder of a mammoth herd. Rivers carve through valleys, their banks littered with flint and bone, while distant volcanoes smolder, casting ash into a sky heavy with clouds. This is the world of the Paleolithic, a place of beauty and brutality, where early humans, from Homo erectus to early Homo sapiens, fought to survive against nature's relentless challenges. The Paleolithic, spanning from 2.5 million to about 10,000 years ago, was defined by the Ice Age, a series of glacial periods that locked much of the Earth's water in massive ice sheets. In Europe, glaciers covered mountains and plains, leaving only narrow corridors of habitable land. In Asia, cold steppes stretched from Siberia to China, while Africa's savannas alternated between lush and arid as climates shifted. Sea levels were lower, exposing land bridges like the one connecting Asia to Europe across the Bering Strait. These changes shaped the world early humans navigated, forcing them to adapt to environments as varied as frozen tundras, tropical jungles, and coastal marshes. The creatures of this world were giants, woolly mammoths, their shaggy coats swaying as they trudged through snow, roamed alongside mastodons and giant elk with antlers wider than a man's reach. Saber-toothed cats, with fangs like curved daggers, stalked the grasslands, their roars echoing through the night. Cave bears, twice the size of modern grizzlies, lumbered into dark caverns, while packs of hyenas and wolves competed for scraps. These megafauna were both a boon and a threat to early humans. A successful hunt could feed a band for weeks, but a misstep could mean death under a mammoth's trampling feet or a predator's jaws. Early humans lived on the edge of survival. In colder regions, like those uncovered at Boxgrove in England, Homo heidelbergensis faced biting winds and temperatures that plummeted below freezing. They wrapped themselves in the hides of bison and deer, stitching crude garments with bone needles. In warmer climates, like the African Rift Valley, Homo erectus contended with scorching heat and seasonal droughts, tracking water sources to survive. Rain could turn a dry plain into a muddy trap, while sudden floods or wildfires could wipe out food supplies. Every day demanded vigilance, as the landscape itself seemed to test their resilience. Archaeological sites paint a vivid picture of this world. At Schöningen in Germany, 400,000-year-old wooden spears show how humans hunted horses and deer in a forested valley. In Spain's Atapuerca caves, piles of animal bones reveal a diet rich in red deer and wild boar, but also the constant threat of cave bears sharing the same shelters. Coastal sites, like Terra Amata in France, show temporary camps where humans exploited shellfish and fish, their fires leaving blackened stones on ancient beaches. These sites reveal a deep knowledge of the land. Humans knew where to find flint for tools, where herds migrated, and when berries ripened. The Paleolithic environment forced humans to be adaptable. In the Arctic fringes, they learned to follow reindeer herds, using every part of the animal: meat for food, hides for clothing, bones for tools. In tropical regions, like Indonesia's Flores Island, they navigated dense jungles, possibly even crafting simple rafts to reach new lands. Their diet was as varied as the landscape: mammoth meat in Europe, antelope in Africa, roots and fruits in Asia. They memorized the seasons, tracking the stars to predict when plants would bloom or animals would migrate. This intimate connection to the earth was their greatest strength, honed over generations of trial and error. Yet the Paleolithic world was not just a backdrop of hardship. It was a canvas of wonder. Sunsets painted the sky in fiery hues, reflected in still lakes. Stars glittered above open plains, untouched by city lights. Early humans, sitting around a crackling fire, must have felt the weight of this vast world, their small bands a flicker of life in an immense landscape. Sites like Blombos Cave in South Africa, where 100,000-year-old ochre and shell beads were found, hint at moments of creativity amid the struggle. Perhaps a necklace crafted to mark a bond, or red pigment smeared on skin for a ritual under the moonlight. This harsh, vibrant world shaped humanity's earliest chapters. The Paleolithic landscape, with its towering beasts and shifting climates, demanded ingenuity and endurance. Every tool crafted, every fire lit, every hunt planned was a triumph over nature's challenges. As we uncover the bones and stones of this era, we see not just survival, but the roots of human resilience. A story of small bands facing a colossal world, determined to carve their place in it. Chapter 4: Hunting Giants. Paleolithic Strategies. Imagine a frigid morning on the Paleolithic steppe, where frost clings to the grass and a bitter wind howls across the open plain. In the distance, a herd of woolly mammoths lumbers forward, their massive tusks gleaming in the pale sunlight. Each beast towers over 10 feet tall, their thick fur rippling as they graze. Hidden among the bushes, a band of early humans crouches, their breath visible in the cold air. Their hands grip sharpened stone-tipped spears, their eyes fixed on the herd. This is no simple hunt. It's a high-stakes battle against giants, requiring cunning, coordination, and courage. In the Paleolithic, hunting megafauna like mammoths, bison, and giant deer was a triumph of human ingenuity, a testament to how small bands took on the mightiest creatures of their world. Hunting in the Paleolithic, from 2.5 million to about 10,000 years ago, was a dangerous necessity. Early humans, from Homo erectus to early Homo sapiens, relied on meat to survive the harsh climates of the Ice Age. While scavenging provided some food, active hunting of large animals offered a richer reward. A single mammoth could feed a group for weeks. Its hide could clothe them, and its bones could build shelters. But these creatures were formidable. Woolly mammoths weighed up to 8 tons, with tusks that could impale a hunter in seconds. Bison, with their thundering hooves, could crush anyone in their path. Even smaller prey, like red deer or wild horses, demanded precision to bring down. To succeed, humans developed sophisticated strategies that turned their small size into an advantage. Group coordination was the cornerstone of Paleolithic hunting. Bands of 20 to 30 people worked together, each member playing a critical role. Some acted as scouts, tracking herds across vast landscapes by reading hoof prints or broken branches. Others drove the animals toward traps, shouting or waving branches to steer them into narrow ravines or muddy bogs where escape was difficult. Archaeological sites like Solutré in France reveal kill sites, where hundreds of horse bones lie piled, evidence of humans herding animals off cliffs or into confined spaces for slaughter. In Siberia, at sites like Yana Rhinoceros Horn, 30,000-year-old mammoth bones bear cut marks from stone tools, showing how humans targeted weakened or isolated animals. Tools were vital to these hunts. Early in the Paleolithic, Homo erectus used Acheulean hand axes, large, teardrop-shaped stones with sharp edges, to butcher carcasses. By the Upper Paleolithic, around 50,000 years ago, Homo sapiens crafted more advanced weapons. At sites like Schöningen in Germany, archaeologists uncovered 400,000-year-old wooden spears, some over 6 feet long, balanced for throwing or thrusting. These were tipped with flint points, hafted with plant fibers or resin, turning a simple stick into a deadly weapon. Later, the invention of the atlatl, a spear thrower, extended the range and force of a hunter's throw, allowing them to strike from a safer distance. Flint knives and scrapers, found at sites like La Gravette in France, were used to skin and process kills, ensuring no part of the animal went to waste. Hunting strategies evolved with the landscape. In open steppes, humans used surround and overwhelm tactics, encircling a single animal to isolate it from the herd. In forested areas, like those at Starcar in England, they set ambushes, hiding in dense brush to strike with spears or traps. Some groups dug pit traps, lined with sharpened stakes, as seen in finds from Japan's Nojiri Lake, where mammoth bones lie alongside stone tools. Fire also played a role. Hunters lit grasses to drive animals toward cliffs or rivers, creating chaos that gave them the upper hand. These methods required not just strength, but planning, with groups likely discussing tactics around campfires, pointing to tracks or drawing plans in the dirt. The dangers were immense. A charging bison could gore a hunter, and even a wounded mammoth could crush an entire group in its panic. Sites like Kostenki in Russia show human bones with fractures, possibly from hunting accidents. Yet the rewards were worth it. A single mammoth provided thousands of pounds of meat, rich in fat, to sustain a group through lean winters. Hides were turned into clothing or tent covers, bones into tools or shelter frames, and even tusks were carved into ornaments. At Mezherych in Ukraine, archaeologists found huts built entirely from mammoth bones, proof of how deeply these animals shaped human life. Hunting also fostered social bonds. Successful hunts required trust and communication, with each member relying on the other's skill. The shared effort of a kill, followed by the division of meat, strengthened group ties. Some archaeologists believe these hunts were celebrated with rituals, as suggested by cave art at Lascaux, where scenes of speared animals hint at stories told around flickering flames. These moments of triumph weren't just about food, they were about community, survival, and the growing confidence of a species learning to master its world. The Paleolithic hunt was a dance of strategy and survival, played out against a backdrop of towering beasts and untamed landscapes. Each spear thrown, each trap set, was a step toward humanity's dominance. As we uncover the bones and tools of these ancient hunters, we see not just their struggle, but their brilliance. A brilliance that turned small bands of humans into the greatest hunters of the Stone Age. Chapter 5. The Art of Gathering. Foraging for survival. Imagine a sun-dappled forest in the Paleolithic, where shafts of light pierce the canopy, illuminating a carpet of moss and wildflowers. A small group of early humans moves carefully through the undergrowth, their eyes scanning the ground for signs of life. One pauses to dig at the base of a tree, unearthing a cluster of starchy tubers. Another plucks ripe berries from a thorny bush, her fingers stained red with juice. Nearby, a child points to a tree heavy with nuts, and the group sets to work, collecting nature's bounty. This is the art of gathering, a vital skill that sustained early humans through the harsh millennia of the Paleolithic, from 2.5 million to about 10,000 years ago, and ensured their survival alongside the thrill of the hunt. While hunting megafauna like mammoths or bison provided bursts of protein, gathering was the backbone of Paleolithic diets. Plants, berries, nuts, seeds, and roots made up the majority of what early humans ate, especially in lean times when game was scarce. Foraging required an intimate knowledge of the landscape, a mental map of where edible plants grew and when they ripened. In the African savannas, Homo erectus gathered wild sorghum and figs, their hands deftly separating edible grains from chaff. In Europe's chilly tundras, early Homo sapiens picked crowberries and sea buckthorn, braving thorns and cold to fill woven baskets. In Asia's jungles, groups harvested bamboo shoots and wild bananas, navigating dense foliage with practiced ease. This knowledge was hard-won. Foragers needed to distinguish edible plants from poisonous ones, a skill passed down through generations. A single mistake could mean illness or death. Berries from the deadly nightshade plant looked tempting but were lethal, while bitter roots might hide toxins. Archaeological evidence, like plant remains at Gesher Benot Yaakov in Israel, dated to 800,000 years ago, shows early humans processed wild barley and water chestnuts, suggesting a deep understanding of their environment. They knew when oak trees dropped acorns in autumn or when spring brought tender greens. This expertise was likely held by women, who often led gathering efforts while men focused on hunting, though roles varied by group and region. Gathering was a meticulous craft. Tools played a key role. Simple digging sticks, often just sharpened branches, were used to unearth roots like yams or cattails, as seen in wear patterns on wooden artifacts from Kalambo Falls in Zambia. Flint knives, like those found at La Quina in France, sliced through tough plant fibers or peeled bark to access edible inner layers. Baskets, woven from grasses or reeds, carried the harvest, their faint traces preserved in sites like Ohelo II in Israel, where 23,000-year-old plant remains reveal a diet of wheat, barley, and grapes. Foragers also used flat stones to grind seeds into meal, a precursor to later milling techniques, as evidenced by grinding tools at Cuddy Springs in Australia. The landscape shaped what and how people gathered. In African savannas, groups followed seasonal rains, moving to where grasses bore seeds or trees fruited. In Europe's Ice Age forests, foragers targeted hazelnuts and wild apples, timing their movements to coincide with brief growing seasons. Coastal groups, like those at Pinnacle Point in South Africa, gathered edible seaweed and tubers from marshy shores, supplementing their diet with marine plants. These patterns required a keen awareness of time and place, knowing when a riverbank would yield rushes or when a hillside bloomed with medicinal herbs. Foragers memorized the stars, the angle of the sun, and the behavior of animals to predict when plants would be ready. Gathering was not just about food, it was about community. Women, often the primary foragers, worked in small groups, their children trailing behind, learning by watching. These moments fostered social bonds, as stories and knowledge were shared over piles of roots or baskets of berries. Some plants, like those found at Shanidar Cave in Iraq, were used for more than food. Pollen traces suggest they were gathered for healing or rituals, perhaps to soothe wounds or honor the dead. The act of gathering tied people to their environment, making them stewards of the land long before agriculture. The challenges of foraging were immense. Drought could wither a season's worth of plants, while floods or frosts could destroy crops before they ripened. Predators lurked in the same forests where berries grew, and foragers had to stay alert for snakes or rival groups. Yet gathering provided stability. While a failed hunt could leave a band hungry, plants were more reliable, their cycles predictable. This balance between hunting and gathering allowed early humans to thrive across diverse landscapes, from scorching deserts to frozen plains. The art of gathering was a quiet triumph of the Paleolithic. Each root dug, each berry plucked, was a victory of knowledge over nature's unpredictability. As we uncover the faint traces of these plants in ancient hearths and grinding stones, we see the resilience and wisdom of early humans, people who turned the wild into sustenance, ensuring their survival and paving the way for the future. Chapter 20. Legacy of the Stone Age. Toward civilization. As we reach the end of our journey through the Stone Age, spanning over 2.5 million years from the first chipped tools to the dawn of settled villages, we stand at the threshold of a new era. The Stone Age wasn't just a time of survival. It was the crucible where humanity forged its resilience, creativity, and ambition. From the jagged choppers of Homo habilis to the polished sickles of Neolithic farmers, from cave paintings to mud brick homes, the innovations of this vast epoch laid the groundwork for everything we now call civilization. Let's reflect on how these ancient steps echo in our world today. The Stone Age began with the simplest of acts, a hominid in Africa striking one stone against another to create a sharp edge. That spark of ingenuity, born from necessity and curiosity, set us apart. Homo habilis, our early toolmaker, didn't just craft a chopper. They crafted a future where survival meant mastering the environment. As humans like Homo erectus migrated out of Africa, they carried this ingenuity across continents, adapting to jungles, steppes, and icy tundras. They faced megafauna like mammoths with nothing but stone-tipped spears and group cunning, proving that cooperation was as vital as any tool. The Paleolithic taught us resilience. In a world of ice age winters and unpredictable game, our ancestors mastered fire, turning it into warmth, protection, and a hearth for storytelling. They built shelters from mammoth bones and hides, painted caves with vivid animals, and buried their dead with care, hinting at beliefs that gave meaning to life and death. These weren't just acts of survival. They were the roots of culture, art, and spirituality, threads that still weave through our societies. The Mesolithic brought adaptation to a warming world. As glaciers retreated and seas rose, humans honed their skills, crafting bows for precision hunting, nets for fishing, and canoes for coastal life. They formed seasonal camps, like Starkar, where social bonds grew stronger through shared feasts and early trade. These connections, fragile at first, were the scaffolding of community, teaching us to trust, share, and collaborate across distances. Then came the Neolithic, the Great Leap. By taming wheat, barley, goats, and sheep, our ancestors traded the freedom of nomadism for the stability of villages. Places like Çatalhöyük and Jericho buzzed with life. Mud brick homes, granaries, and communal spaces where people worked, celebrated, and dreamed together. Polished tools and pottery made farming and storage possible, while specialization and trade wove networks that stretched hundreds of miles. These villages weren't just homes. They were experiments in living together, where humanity learned to navigate conflict, share resources, and build for the future. The Stone Age's legacy is profound. Every polished axe was a lesson in persistence. Every pot, a step toward creativity. Every village, a blueprint for society. These innovations didn't vanish with the arrival of bronze or iron. They evolved. The wheat fields of the Neolithic became the breadbaskets of ancient empires. The trade routes of obsidian and shells grew into the Silk Road and beyond. The cave paintings of Lascaux inspired art that still captivates us, while the communal spirit of early settlements lives on in our cities and cultures. But perhaps the greatest gift of the Stone Age is its reminder of human resilience. Our ancestors faced a world of towering beasts, brutal climates, and endless unknowns, yet they thrived. They didn't have manuals or maps, just their hands, minds, and each other. When a harvest failed or a herd wandered, they adapted. When a tool broke, they crafted a better one. When a camp grew too small, they built a village. This relentless drive to solve, create, and connect is our inheritance. A spark that still burns in every invention, every community, every story we tell. As we look back, the Stone Age isn't just a chapter in history. It's the foundation of who we are. It shows us that no challenge is too great when we work together, when we dare to experiment, when we refuse to give up. From those first stone flakes to the dawn of civilization, our ancestors carved a path through the wild, leaving us not just tools or villages, but a lesson. Humanity's strength lies in its ability to imagine a better tomorrow and build it, one step at a time.